Hey everybody, it's Lou here in my backyard at the DIY and just having so I caught the flu. Turns out it was the flu. You know how sometimes you get a bug, and turns out like I was feeling bad for like 5 days before I finally admitted that I felt bad. Didn't understand what was going on. Really impacted my ability to work. Turns out I had like a fever. And today is I took care of myself for like 2 days, and then I skated last Saturday with skated. So I'm gonna see if it goes back. Okay, it says I'm live again. It's telling me I have a very bad connection. So as you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day here in the backyard. The Harleys are under the tent over there. The big SUV I drive around was actually virtually gifted to me by Pippin Rush, who was there when the boneless got invented. I'll probably never fail to say that. My hat, given to me by the illustrious, amazing, awesome Mark Noland of Wilmington, Ohio, one of the pioneers of the Wilmington Skate Park, which is just got built by Grindline. Awesome. But today I want to talk to you about what I'm riding this week. And one reason why I want to talk about what I'm riding is because you guys know I have all the sweet hookups since I make boards. And we recently did our Friday the 13th deck series, which was a bunch of boards pressed on Friday the 13th and cut to a specific shape. And I generated that shape the way I do all of them, which is my process on it. I just basically figured out how to do it on my own years ago. I'm in year 10 now. 10th anniversary coming up. But the shape, I'll start with it, is a tri-corner nose. That's a three-cornered nose. This deck is the prototype. So the first thing I do to make a shape is I build a prototype deck, and I square cut the edges. So I built a three-cornered nose. And as you can see, I've got some Nerd grip tape on there. Nerd is Maddie Garrow in North Carolina. And Maddie makes stencils and does really cool grip tape. I always order it on Jessup, and he sends me batches of my favorite design. The Sheriff is my favorite. You guys know that on the show, Barney was never the Sheriff, but here the Barneys are the Sheriff. And then Maddie also does my other favorite, which is Minor Threat. And I'm just a Minor Threat. So I made a tri-cornered nose at the table on this, and then I built this tail on it. And the tail is kind of a, I don't know how to describe that shape of tail, but it's got a little bit of a fishtail to it down the line. And see that cut in fishtail with a narrow tri-cornered nose. The nose is so what I do is I built this, and then I built all the boards off it, and it was and then it has all the dimensions. When I first built it, has all the dimensions on it in Sharpie, and just on the raw wood. And then what I did was I decided to after I made all that, I took the deck and I put an old set of Hesh rails on it. Hesh Rails was a really cool rail company. A guy named Julian making these. They're low profile rails, and they come with longer screws, and the screws actually will punch through the top of the deck, which I don't mind a bit. They just punch barely through, and I put a set of Hesh Rails on it and bent them, and I put a couple of pieces of Rip Grip on the front, and I took it out. I white bottomed it, and I don't know if you can see, but just barely you can see the dimensions are still written underneath there, and the date and everything. And if I wanted to, I could sand the white off, and you could see the dimensions deeply soaked in Sharpie. But this board, I took it out. I don't usually ride such a shapy board. Usually I ride something that's my more elegant shapes. But I took it to Ollie's last Saturday and met some of the welfare line skateboard collector guys at Ollie's, and this thing was so fun to ride. It was incredibly fun to ride, and I had a freak out on how fun it was, and one of the things about it I like the most has a 7.5-inch tail, and part of the reason the tail is longer is because it has a pintail. You know, it has a pintailed design, pintail, flat corner, fish tail on it. There's a lot more contour than I usually like to rock, and making boards like that is much harder. It's much more labor intensive to make decks that have that much shape on them. But this thing here, I was really dialed in for ollies, and just had a really good time skating it, and it got me really stoked. I wanted to share what I was riding this week with you guys because thankfully I have, looks like I've hit the tail end of this flu. I'm going to be taking this thing out a lot. I also have a set of Powerflex wheels on there, and I've only just begun to sing the song of Powerflex wheels because it's the revival of a 70s era brand with a 70s culture of run what you brung. Doesn't matter what shape your board is. And I had such a good time with the Welfare Line guys riding this deck. The tail pocket was so awesome. The nose on it is 7¼ inches long. So even though it has a tapered nose, it's still got a super good nose hook for your foot when you ollie, when you want to do manuals and stuff. And I was freaked out because I usually run a wider, more shovelly front board. And on this deck, I ran it with a more narrow nose. It's not my style. I don't like fancy shapes. Personally, it's not my choice to ride fancy shapes and things like that. But I had a terrific time. Well, I'm feeling better and I have to get down. I just got some more orders and I have to get down into the chips today. Much love to all of you guys, and this is my ride right now, what I'm riding. Up in the front, I have another deck which is on the long concave. It's a Ditch Dagger. It's a 10+ wide, and I'll talk about it another time. But time for me to go and do that thing I do. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for everybody that roots for me, and appreciate all of you very much. You matter tremendously. You matter so much, and can't wait to see you and skate with you. I hope that this year has a lot of doing that in it. Much peace to you. Thanks.